This is the Great Hitchcock Tag, a tag consisting of a series of prompts, all of which take their names from the titles of Alfred Hitchcock movies. I was tagged by Stella at It's Too Late to Apologize. Much thanks to her for tagging me. And let's get started. So, prompt number one, Spellbound. Name a book that had you so completely enthralled that you couldn't put it down. The first one that comes to mind for me, and I know this is odd, but it would be this brick of a book here, Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind. I don't even like fantasy, and I know that Terry Goodkind was kind of a prick, and he is, the most loathed man in fantasy. And I honestly don't even really know exactly why this book was so enthralling to me, but it was. This thing is, you can see it's about 800 odd pages of generic run of the mill fantasy quest action. But you know what? I found this incredibly compelling, incredibly riveting, and I blew through this in a much faster span of time than I really thought I would because it was that enthralling. So don't know why. I know this book is trashed so much, but I'm not defending it as some kind of masterful artistic achievement, but it had me turning pages like very few books do. So I will give it that. So yeah, Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind. Prompt number two, Rope. Name a book where the murder weapon is anything other than a gun or a knife. And for this one, I went with Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. The murder weapon in this is, if the title didn't give it away, a car, a Mercedes. I'm not really a big fan of Stephen King's crime fiction. This book is just kind of in his overall bibliography, but it's okay. It's a pretty fun read, and yeah, the murder weapon is definitely not a gun or a knife. It is in fact a car. So for the rope prompt, Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. And prompts number three, Vertigo. Name a book with a notable scene from a dizzying height. Okay, this one might be stretching it a little bit, but I went with Falling Man by Don DeLillo. Now, this book is actually, it may have been the first book to be written about 9/11, even though it's really not about 9/11, and that was why I kind of was disappointed with it. But it opens during 9/11, and the title of the book, Falling Man, refers to that now world famous photo of the man falling head down from the towers. I know I'm reaching a little bit with this one, but 9/11 involved the Twin Towers, which were among the tallest buildings on Earth, and people fell from those towers, and that is a dizzying height. So for Vertigo, I'm going with Falling Man by Don DeLillo. Now, prompt number four, Psycho. Name a book where the main character is a psychopath. So I chose Intensity by Dean Koontz, one of my favorite books. This book has a really great villain, I think. Edgar Vess is definitely a psychopath, among other things. He's a very good antagonist. He fills the role of villain very well in this book. And yeah, he is cold, calculating, remorseless, and he's just a stone cold killer. Yeah, so Intensity, excellent thriller novel. Still to date, one of the greatest thriller novels I've ever read. Definitely give Intensity a look if you haven't read it. It is Dean Koontz's finest book. Yeah, and it has one of his finest villains in it too, who is most certainly a psychopath. And prompt number five, Frenzy. Name a book with a society or community in complete chaos. I chose for this prompt this, which is Under the Dome, also by Stephen King. I got this in the two-part edition. I wish, in retrospect, I just bought the single volume, but what are you going to do? This was Stephen King's first all-out, no-holds-barred political allegory. This marked his increasing involvement with politics in his writing, something I wish that he would move away from nowadays. But this is actually really good. This is one of his better books since uh, the millennium, since his accident as well, because his books now, they just don't really hit like his older books do. But this one is an exception. This is actually a really good book, and it's one of the very few books of his that I can honestly say justifies its mammoth length. There are a lot of characters in this. It's about a town in Maine, of course, because there's always a town in Maine that inexplicably finds itself trapped under a giant transparent dome, and it deals with their various plights and travails as they try to maintain order and eventually succumb to savagery and chaos. This is Stephen King's direct attack on the Bush administration. The main villain here is basically just a stand-in for Dick Cheney. But yeah, this is a pretty fun book. I remember liking it. And yeah, like I said, it's one of the very few of his books that I can say actually justifies the length of it, or almost does at least. So, and prompt number 6, Topaz. Name a book where gems and jewels are an essential part of the plot. I went with Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson because I'm pretty sure there were some jewels in that treasure chest that the characters are hunting for the entire story. I know mostly it's about gold, buried treasure, but I'm pretty sure there were some gems in this treasure hoard as well. This was all I had for for this one. Treasure Island, it's the quintessential pirate novel, and it's about pirates hunting for buried treasure. And like I said, I'm pretty sure there were some valuable rocks in there too. I think it's been a while since I've read it, but I'm pretty sure there were some gems in here. And since the treasure is the focus of the plot with Treasure Island, I'm going to go with it then. And prompt number 7, The Birds. Name a book where a bird or birds play an important part in the story. That was easy. We're going to go with Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. This is a new age kind of self-help parable about an avian Christ who shows his fellow bird brethren how to fly higher, faster, and better than they ever have. And it's really thin, considering that most of what this book is just pictures of seagulls. But bestseller in the 1970s, changed a lot of people's lives, as I'm given to understand it. And I can definitely see how it can. But yeah, it is about birds, so this fits the bill excellently, I would say. And then we have prompts number 8, Marnie. Name a book with a troubled or shady female character. And I picked We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. Mary Cat, gosh, I can't even remember what her last name is in this. Mary Cat Blackwood, yes. Mary Cat Blackwood in this book is one of the shadiest female characters I have ever encountered. And my reaction to this book when I read it was a lot different, apparently, than most everybody else's is, because to me this was a prime example of a story where the villain actually wins. Although you don't really feel that it is that way, you don't really view it that way. But I think this qualifies. She is definitely the villain of this story, I think, because she is batshit crazy in a very quiet, subdued kind of way that you don't really realize, especially since she is the narrator, you don't really realize just how crazy she is. But she's crazy. She did the reveal of what she did at the end of the book. It doesn't really come as a surprise, but it does still carry kind of some weight. It does pack a punch when it is revealed what she did. But yeah, she be cray and she be shady, definitely. So for Marnie, we're going to go with We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. So time to tag some people. So I'm going to tag Jim at Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff, and I'll tag Sandy at Mr. Reads a Lot. I don't think either one of them have done this tag yet. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if you have read any or all of these books that I've listed. what your takes on them were, whether you have agreed with my use of them for this prompt. And if you haven't, pick them up. They're pretty good books, I'd say. And as always, if you have enjoyed anything you've seen or heard here today, remember to hit that like button and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, peace.